Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
All right, well, let's get in some front page news. Morning, Morgan!
Good morning, good morning. How we feeling on a Friday? How I'm supposed to follow that?
Black and highly favored. That's how we feel.
All right, love to hear y'all. All right, so first up on front page, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are in Kerrville, Texas today, or at least they're traveling there today to survey the devastation from the catastrophic floods. Now, the White House says the president will meet with first responders, receive a briefing from local officials, and meet with some of the family impacted by the tragedy. The trip comes exactly 1 week after intense rain led to the deadly floods. Now, Trump said he wanted to visit sooner, but didn't want to be in the way of rescue efforts. Now, speaking of search and rescue efforts in Central Texas, they are currently in the recovery phase after nearly a week. Kerrville police officer Jonathan Lamb gave an update on those efforts. Let's take a listen to Kerrville police officer Jonathan Lamb.
Our city of Kerrville and Kerr County leadership are committed to a transparent and full review of processes and protocols. The number of missing remains at 161, and there remain 5 campers and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic among the missing.
Meanwhile, Andrews County Fire Marshal Jeremy Prophet says that social media is their worst enemy right now. He says influencers and content creators are trying to get into the disaster zones. In fact, they are getting into disaster zones, compromising the search for victims, to create content. Let's take a listen.
The whole riverbank from the 8-mile stretch is considered in the declaration of disaster, and it is a no general public zone. If you are thinking about going to the river, don't. You're hindering our search efforts.
At least 120 people are dead from the flooding in the state, and officials described efforts as methodical to ensure no stone is left unturned. Now,
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If you one of them punk ass content creators that's just going to a tragic event like that just for content, you need your ass beat. I told y'all this yesterday. Sometimes violence for those who just want to go viral, I think, is necessary.
Well, there was also a drone earlier this week that crashed into an emergency helicopter. Now, I believe that the emergency helicopter was able to make a landing, but again, it was just the drone was in the way. It was a private drone. They have now since contracted drones, to help and assist with those search and rescue efforts as well. But yeah, to your point, get out the way. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says all up and down the Guadalupe River are ranches and farms that have been wiped out, and he talked about the economic impact of that. Let's take a listen to his comments.
Hundreds of miles of fence been wiped out that'll have to be rebuilt. The crops are gone or underwater. Can't replant. It's too late in the growing season. The saddest part is when you go down in that country, you'll see livestock, dead livestock. We've even seen cows in the tops of the cypress trees.
Yeah, so the Texas Department of Agriculture is stepping in to help those affected by the flood, but Miller says it will take years for them to rebuild. So, of course, the Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country has launched the Kerr County Relief Fund to support those who have been impacted with long-term recovery efforts. All donations go directly to trusted local organizations that provide food, shelter, health care, and hope. You can donate to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund at communityfoundation.net. That's communityfoundation.net.
If they talk about rebuilding, they need to rebuild and prepare for these floods. I was reading a lot of articles how I was just saying, Texas, did little to brace for floods despite, knowing the risk. Like they had $50 billion in flood control needs, but the lawmakers just devoted $1.4 billion, to address those concerns. So when you talk about rebuilding, what exactly are you going to rebuild? Are you going to rebuild, infrastructure that can handle these type of floods?
But that's what I said a couple of days ago. Remember what I said? We keep having the same problems, and I understand Mother Nature's unpredictable, but when we still keep having these same flooding issues and same issues that seem like should be structurally fixed, it doesn't make sense.
So I hope when they talk about rebuilding, they're talking about actually fixing the problem. And Trump is going there, as you just said, Morgan. I just wonder how much the federal government is going to assist Texas in regards to covering these costs, because they seem to be penny pinching when it comes to stuff like that.
How is that even legal, y'all, for them to have this amount of money and to not fully use what they need and to not fully prepare? There aren't checks and balances, inspectors or something. How is that how does that happen?
I have no idea.
I was going to say, this administration decides to push the envelope a little bit, so there's that. But I'm not going to get too much into that. At 7, we'll talk about something breaking, a terrible situation that's coming out of Baltimore. So y'all stick around for more front page news.
All right. Everybody else, get it off your chest. 800-585-1051. If you need to vent, call us up right now. Phone lines are wide open again. 800-585-1051. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning. Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Let's get back in some front page news. What's up, Morgan?
Hey, yeah, I thought Jess would be here today. You know, she's from Baltimore, but there's a devastating situation that's happening in Baltimore right now. At least 25 people have been hospitalized following a mass overdose event in West Baltimore.
What?
Exactly. I've never heard of this before, right? So 5 people are in critical condition. Fire and EMS crews were called to the scene Thursday morning to find several overdose victims and began to search for others. Now, Fire Chief James Wallace gave an update on the situation, but he also disclaimed that the scene is evolving. Let's take a listen to his comments.
Transported 15 patients to the hospital. 5 of those are priority 1 patients, meaning they're critical. We are still maintaining command and control of this area because we do continue to find that we are still having some overdoses in the area.
So Wallace goes on to say they don't know what specifically caused the overdose. Police are treating it as a crime scene based on the size and scale of this incident. Now, Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott also said officials have not determined the exact source of the overdose, and the incident remains under investigation. Scott goes on to say first responders and community partners remain on the ground distributing Narcan, test strips, and other harm reduction resources. What were you going to say, Shar?
I was gonna say anything. I mean, you answered the question because I was like, well, what the hell did they overdose off? But did you say they don't know yet?
No, this is a developing situation, so I'll continue to follow this. But yeah, this isn't something I've never heard of before, a mass overdose. So.
Well, I guess they said 5 people, so I guess that's considered mass because I have, in recent years, heard cases about groups of people doing fentanyl and a couple of them dying, overdosing. But I guess mass is,
They
5,
tend to use the number 6 or more, but it's 5 people in critical, and at least 25 people have been hospitalized. And that was as of yesterday when I gathered this information. That those numbers could, I would hope not, but it is a possibility that those numbers could increase today.
I also wonder what the age range was. That's the other thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Elsewhere, or switching gears, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker is looking to ban Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE agents, from concealing their identities when conducting arrests. There have been a number of videos that have surfaced showing masked ICE agents and unmarked vehicles taking people into custody, which of course, would scare anybody because you're like, well, who are they and what are they doing here? Now, Senator Booker and fellow Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California, where there have been plenty of raids, they just introduced a bill that bans ICE agents from wearing masks and requires them to display their agency name and either their name or badge number. Let's take a listen to Cory Booker's comments.
It's called the Visible Act. And so our bill is trying to actually protect ICE agents, protect the public.
Now, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says when officers conduct these operations, they clearly identify themselves as law enforcement, and the nation needs to support them and not attack them for doing their job. She went on to say that the reason they wear masks is because activists are spreading personal information online. So it's a way of protecting them in a sense as well. So let's take a listen to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's comments.
These Democrat leaders are really, really elevating the emotion out there. These ICE officers are going after murderers and rapists. They're threatening their families. They're talking about kidnapping their families. It's extremely dangerous.
So Noem did not address recent reports of criminals impersonating ICE agents while masked. Of course, this happened in February, where a man in North Carolina is accused of sexually assaulting a woman and threatening to deport her if she resisted. So I will continue to follow this proposed legislation, and communities that are actually, just so you know, there are communities that are actually tracking ICE in a neighborhood near you, and there are a number of apps that will alert you if ICE is in the area. I'm not going to say which apps those are. Please just do your due diligence and go search for them. They exist.
Morgan, they already know. You know what's so funny?
What's
so funny?
I be trying to help people. I don't know. Like, some of them are better than others. I'm just going to say, and then people watch the show, but might not know.
I just think it's hilarious hilarious when people want you to get on these apps like Signal, and they'll be like, these are these private apps that we can have private conversations on. Who the hell you think making these apps? You think the feds and everybody else don't know about these apps?
They know about
Telegram.
every last app.
You've never heard of Telegram.
Telegram is one of them.
But
Telegram, Signal, yep.
I remember when Signal first came out, all my political friends was like, we should be on Signal having these conversations. If I wanted to trap you stupid ass people, I would create an app and say, here's an app where you can go on it and have private conversations and nobody will know about it. Yeah, that's the one we won't monitor.
Oh my goodness.
That's like, come on, man.
Well, Ice Block is the one that seems to be most popular. I'm just saying. Y'all ain't named it, but you know, I'm going to put it out there since y'all want to clock me on it. But
They even said WhatsApp at one time. They said if you do stuff on WhatsApp, nobody knows.
I dare you to pull up on Ice's block. I dare you to go stand on Ice's block and see what happens.
And see if the block is hot. Ice is
That block
melting.
is hot.
You better not.
You hear me?
All right, y'all, let's switch gears one more time and talk tariffs. So President Trump is informing Canada that he plans to impose a 35% tariff on the country in August. In a letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney, Trump said that starting August 1st, a 35% tariff on Canadian products sent to the U.S. will be imposed. Trump said it comes as part of a response to Canada's retaliation and ongoing trade barriers. In the letter, he went on to accuse Canada of failing to cooperate on key issues, including the flow of fentanyl in the U.S. So this tariff, of course, stands to impact global steel, aluminum, and auto tariffs, not to mention other foods like maple syrup, seafood, beef, and other things like that. This also comes at the same time that Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was warning of retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. because the president also plans to impose a 50% tariff on goods for Brazil. So Lula pushed back on what he called inaccurate claims of a U.S. trade deficit in its commercial relationship with Brazil in a statement posted on X. So, of course, this comes after President Trump issued a letter to Lula noting that the new tariffs would take effect on August 1st in Brazil as well. And this is due in part to Brazil's, quote, insidious acts on free elections and the fundamental free speech rights of Americans. Sheesh. So out of Brazil, what products stand to be impacted? Coffee is the number one export from them. Beef. We love those Brazilian steakhouses, don't we? And potentially other seafood products. So just keep that in mind. Ooh, y'all, it's a lot. And if you work for the State Department, I will just say that, just brace. The mass layoffs are coming. So Deputy Secretary for the State Management and Resources, Michael Rigas, said in an internal email on Thursday that notices will be sent out soon. The moves are part of a plan for the organization to form a more agile, that's what they called, they said, quote, more agile department. So the State Department is up next when it comes to mass layoffs. And that's your front page news, y'all. I'm Morgan Wood. Follow me on socials at Morgan Media for more news coverage. Follow at Black Information Network. Download the free iHeartRadio app and visit us at BINnews.com. Thank y'all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Morgan.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.